We are kicking off with Raw, as a triple threat match took place between Braun Strowman, Bronson Reed, and Chad Gable, the latter of whom being cleared to compete despite the Wyatt Sicks attack. The faction attacked Gable during their arrival on last week's Raw, and on his way to the ring, Gable addressed the situation and declared he could not be killed. With a golden opportunity in the men's Money in the Bank ladder match hanging in the balance, all three held nothing back, but Strowman was taken out by the Judgment Day. The closing moments saw Chad Gable take advantage by hitting a moonsault on Bronson Reed and getting the pin, thus joining Jey Uso, Carmelo Hayes, and Andrade in the Money in the Bank ladder match. As Gable celebrated, the lights dimmed in typical Uncle Howdy fashion, and as smoke filled the ring, the Wyatt Sicks slow intro began playing on the piano. Nikki Cross crawled into the ring as Gable exited, and she delivered a small box to the commentary table, placing it in front of Michael Cole before walking away in a trance-like state. Fans watched in silence as Nikki walked towards the entrance with the same piano chord playing the entire time, and a quick flash of Cross's face approaching the camera ended things. Later on, Michael Cole opened the gift and said it was a VHS tape that said "Play Me" on it, and fans were understandably eager to see what the VHS held in its recording. For our younger viewers, VHS tapes were the norm 25 years ago, but are virtually non-existent now, as they were replaced by DVDs in the early 2000s. As for Gable, he went backstage and desperately tried to reconcile with Alpha Academy, but Otis was unwilling to forgive Gable for hurting Maxine Dupree after what happened in Glasgow. Michael Cole, either out of curiosity or because he was coerced, had the tape played in the production truck, and viewers watched in shock as Uncle Howdy appeared in a dimly lit room. Howdy engaged in an eerie dialogue with Bo Dallas, his alter ego, and as the double personality nature of the Uncle Howdy character comes to the forefront, so did the motivations of the Wyatt Sicks. Dallas was asked how he felt about his brother Bray Wyatt passing away, and Bo said that he felt like everything important in his life was taken away and he felt no purpose. Howdy's mention of Bray and his legacy sparked something in Bo, who shared a desire to emulate his brother and fight alongside him, while Howdy said he was there to save Bo. This prompted a disquieting response from Dallas, hinting at a troubling acceptance, and for the time being, it appears that Bo and Howdy are being presented as separate entities. Uncle Howdy revealed in the interview that the motivations of the Wyatt Sicks have to do with honoring Bray Wyatt's legacy, and the segment ended with a shot of Howdy and Bo. Of course, this shot of the pair sitting across from each other was accomplished through split screen, and this was an interesting segment to reintroduce Bo Dallas. What fans may not have noticed is that all the questions Howdy asked Bo are the questions fans heard from one of the websites accessed by scanning one of the previous QR codes. The QR code in question took fans to the website wwe.com/areyouhappy, and the same questions asked in the cryptic video shared there were asked by Uncle Howdy last night. Now, there are some who feel this segment was too silly and would argue that the Firefly Funhouse existed in Bray's mind, but why couldn't such a segment air in Bo's mind as well? The segment danced the line between being an interview and a therapy session, and we have to wonder if Howdy learned the skills from this from the therapist we saw in Twitch streams. Perhaps it was Bo who spoke to the therapist on those streams, and there's a question as to whether Bo's dark passenger is trying to consume him or work alongside him. Bo Dallas played both the interviewee and Howdy, and where that is going is the question, one that breeds intrigue and leaves the audience wondering where things are going with the Wyatt Sicks. That is exactly what WWE had to accomplish tonight, and it did so with great effect, and it was great to see Bo Dallas's face on WWE TV after 5 years on Raw. But what did you make of the segment? Were you confused by the Wyatt Sicks motivations, or are you liking what you've seen so far from Bo Dallas and Uncle Howdy? Let us know down in the comments. Despite the name of the Wyatt Sicks, there are currently 5 members of the group, and while some have said that Bray Spirit is the 6th member, the group may be adding a new addition. On Raw, it was hinted that Alexa Bliss could be the final member when her image as her Dark Alexa persona was shown as Chad Gable made his way into the arena. Fans noticed that Bliss was on the advertisement behind him, and it appeared to be a major hint regarding her future, as WWE has been smart with their teases with the group so far. Bliss's face hasn't been seen in WWE ads for several months, and she hasn't wrestled since January 2023, so her face on this show appeared to be much more than mere coincidence. Before the group's debut, fans expected she'd be part of the group, and now her image has appeared alongside the only identified victim of the Wyatt Sicks so far. Do you think Alexa Bliss is returning to be a part of the Wyatt Sicks, or are WWE fans just reading too much into this? Give your thoughts down below. World Heavyweight Champion Damian Priest arrived on the scene for a promo to discuss his upcoming title match with Seth Rollins that will take place at Money in the Bank next month. Priest vowed that Rollins will never win the title back for as long as he's champion, and Seth fired back, claiming Priest would not be champion without Judgment Day and CM Punk. As we've seen, Punk did play a crucial role in Priest's title victory at WrestleMania, as well as Priest's defense against Drew McIntyre at WWE Clash at the Castle, Scotland. The segment saw Rollins offer Priest a huge ultimatum, saying that if the champion retains, Rollins would never get a shot at the title as long as he stays champion. However, if Rollins wins, Priest will be forced to leave the Judgment Day, and the champion accepted, saying the group needs me a hell of a lot more than Damian Priest needs them. As the champion and his challenger faced off, Gunther arrived and was immensely confident in his chances of winning the title when the time is right. The 2024 King of the Ring said he was excited to see their match, but it'd all be for naught, and reminded everyone that as king, he will challenge for the title at SummerSlam this August. Gunther explained that the better man between Seth and Priest will be the lesser man when they face him, and now Rollins versus Priest has a much greater meaning thanks to the Austrian. This was a quality segment that highlighted the three key players in the world title picture moving forward and built plenty of anticipation heading into Money in the Bank. But what did you think of this segment, and will it be Damian Priest, Seth Rollins, or Gunther who stands tall as world champion by the end of SummerSlam? Give your predictions below. On the heels of a brutal beatdown on SmackDown that left CM Punk bloodied in his native Chicago, Drew McIntyre kicked off Raw by interrupting Michael Cole's show open. The Scottish Warrior wasted no time in discussing last Friday's attack and reveled in beating Punk down, and denounced the fans that still cheer for the fallen best in the world. McIntyre showed a bracelet he took from Punk's limp body, which bears the names AJ and Larry, referring to Punk's wife and their beloved dog. Looking to the future, Drew declared himself for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match and vowed to win the briefcase with Punk's family by his side next month. This was a great promo from a fiery McIntyre who spoke with conviction and believed everything he said, because there is a modicum of truth in his issues with CM Punk. The best heels are the ones who wholly believe they are in the right, and McIntyre certainly does, and him seeking the Money in the Bank briefcase is an ironic twist for him. After all, McIntyre has been the victim of a Money in the Bank cash-in not once, but twice, with the majority of his WWE World title reigns ending at the hands of the coveted briefcase. McIntyre being a part of the ladder match also opens up one more opportunity for Punk to interject himself in the proceedings and set up a SummerSlam showdown. Do you think Punk will return at Money in the Bank and cost McIntyre, or would it be too soon to bring him back given the assault from SmackDown? Let us know down in the comments. Raw also saw Liv Morgan remain focused on her mission to pull Dominik Mysterio away from the Judgment Day, especially her former friend turned arch-rival Rhea Ripley. On Raw, the WWE Women's World Champion set the stage by sending Dominik an intriguing text message, followed by gifts and an invitation to join her in the ring. Instead of Dirty Dom, though, it was Liv's newest adversary, Zelina Vega, who answered the call, and during her way out, Vega called Dominik Rhea Ripley's sloppy seconds. While not exactly a PG term, the crowd in Indianapolis ran with it, as there were chants of sloppy seconds mixed in with the deafening boos when Dominik made his appearance. This was one of the most derogatory chants in WWE, and in the ring, Vega criticized Morgan for neglecting her champion duties in favor of chasing Dominik, and challenged Liv to a title match. Morgan brushed off the idea, and when Dominik appeared, he offered to assist Vega in her quest of the Women's World Championship before Morgan blindsided her would-be opponent. This chaos led to further chaos, as Vega's mentor Rey Mysterio rushed to the ring to intervene, only to be shoved to the mat by Dominik, much to the delight of the departing Liv Morgan. The events of tonight's Raw set the stage for an intense new rivalry, with Liv Morgan at the center of the turmoil, potentially reshaping the dynamics of the women's championship scene. Despite Liv's rejection, this segment also set up Zelina Vega as her next challenger, presumably for next week's show, or possibly at Money in the Bank. Either way, it's a great spot for the underrated Vega to find herself in, and with the added element of the Mysterio family feud, that match against Morgan could be a lot of fun. We mentioned earlier that Liv was giving gifts to Dominik, and during a backstage segment, Damian Priest walked into the Judgment Day's locker room and saw a PS5. When Priest asked, Dominik said that it was a gift from Morgan, and Mysterio then received the text that he showed to the group, that left the entire faction stunned. We'll have to see if the contents of that text message see the light of day, but the WWE Women's World Champion continues to have fans, and the Judgment Day, very interested. More from Liv Morgan now, as WWE put the wheels in motion for another love triangle this week, this one being between Morgan, Dominik Mysterio, and Finn Balor. Finn was first teased to have had a role in the developing Dom-Morgan romance when he abruptly interrupted a segment between them and told Mysterio to behave, acting like a father figure. From his body language, though, fans picked up on the potential of him having an interest in Morgan, and he was recently seen leaving the same car as the Women's World Champion. Just the other week, eagle-eyed fans will have spotted Balor pocketing the key card from Liv's hotel room, in another sign that Finn may have his eye on Liv Morgan. This week, the Irishman was caught with Morgan in the Judgment Day's locker room, and we'll have to see which Judgment Day member, if either, Liv can win over first. In the main event of Raw, World Tag Team Champions Awesome Truth defended their titles against Finn Balor and JD McDonough, but the Irish Stars have Liv Morgan to thank for the match. It was Liv who manipulated R-Truth into getting Adam Pearce to make the match official, and Morgan came down to ringside to watch the action up close. Chaos erupted in the match as the Judgment Day members and Braun Strowman make their presence felt in the match, but it was Liv who proved to be the difference maker. Amid the turmoil, Morgan attacked R-Truth, who considered her a friend, and this gave Finn Balor the opening to hit the coup de grace on Truth to get the win and the titles. Raw went off the air with the new World Tag Team Champions posing on the ramp, and Liv added herself to the image, somewhat to the irritation of the Judgment Day. The heels earning the victory makes sense, as no matter how entertaining they may have been, the Awesome Truth were not as prominently featured as their counterparts in this match. Love her or not, Liv Morgan is a legitimate star and has done a ton to further the Judgment Day story and inevitable breakup, especially given the aforementioned love triangle. If she ultimately chooses Balor, whatever arena is watching will explode, and it's going to become more and more obvious she has something going on with the new tag team champion. Until then, expect Liv Morgan to continue being a spotlight on Monday Night Raw, as the Women's World Champion is by no means finished with the Judgment Day. It's been over 2 months since Rhea Ripley shared news of her injury, a setback that ended her Women's World title reign, and fans have been left wondering when she'll be back. It was previously reported that Ripley wasn't scheduled to be a part of SummerSlam, but in an update from Fightful Select, it's noted that WWE sources have plans in place for her return. These plans will allow Ripley to rejoin programming whenever she's ready, even in a non-wrestling role, and there have been talks of her returning to a world title program. This would make sense given her champion status before her injury, but the storyline at the time of her return will determine just how involved she will be in the title picture. There's still a lot of creative decisions around the title that need to be made amid Ripley's absence, and time will tell what role is in store for her when she's back on TV. In recent years, Vince McMahon has been embroiled in a deeply disturbing lawsuit alleging that he sexually abused women and trafficked Janelle Grant during her time with the company. Now another accusation has been made, as former MMA fighter Chael Sonnen has accused McMahon of engaging in sexual relationships with male WWE stars in exchange for pushes. Speaking on the Flagrant podcast, Sonnen claimed that it was an open secret that McMahon slept with male and female talent, saying he knows of 11 people who have been involved. He said, "I've never met Vince, and I know 11 people that he slept with, 8 of them women, all consenting adults, so which is the implication to the others being men. I was talking trash, but I wasn't joking on the Jim Rome show. Anyway, I mean, when Vince got Me Too'd out of the business, I did think it was a surprise, but as good as he is, I would not completely count that he couldn't come back. But when the men start coming out, it'll be a different story." He would hold their careers over him just like he would the women. It was the same thing. You get paid more, you get pushed more. This is not a secret in the industry, like I'm not talking trash, but this was very well known. But I mean, Shawn Michaels, like guys that you would know there was... When asked if McMahon and Michaels slept together, he replied, "Or whatever it is that they were doing." McMahon wasn't the only exec behaving like this, according to Sonnen, as he also claimed that Pat Patterson demanded sexual favors from talent for better opportunities. He said, "It's not just Vince, Pat Patterson and some other executives did too. Everybody would know, McMahon would think this girl turned me down, she's pulled off TV." This isn't the first time Patterson's name has come up this way, as in 1992, he, alongside Terry Garvin, was accused of sexual harassment of underage ring boys who'd worked for the company. This is an ugly side to pro wrestling and continues to cast a dark shadow over the industry and especially WWE, and we'll continue to follow this situation for updates. A week on from Braun Breaker turning Ludwig Kaiser inside out with a spear, Breaker looked to do the same this week as the pair met in singles competition on Raw. Kaiser impressed in the match and did more damage than what one would expect, but Breaker fought back with his awe-inspiring offense and came close to winning multiple times. As the match continued though, Kaiser had control, and as he set off to run around the ringside area and smash Breaker's head into the ring steps, he was thwarted by Sheamus. The Celtic Warrior appeared out of nowhere to floor Kaiser with a knee strike, causing a DQ, and when Sheamus lifted the German for a powerbomb, Breaker speared the combination of men. This interference made sense based on what happened last week between Sheamus and Kaiser, while Breaker continued to see his win-loss record hampered by the vendetta of two others. Breaker was undisputedly a babyface here, and if the commentary was any indication, that is the direction his character is heading in, despite him being a heel on Raw so far. Do you think turning Breaker face at this time is the right call, or should he continue on as a heel and save the face turn for later? Sound off in the comments section. Taking on Braun Breaker was always going to be a hard-hitting match for Ludwig Kaiser, and after the match, WrestleVotes reported that the German superstar had suffered an injury. Hopefully this is a minor injury and not a major one, especially as the Bash at Berlin event this August will see WWE's first PLE in Germany, an event Kaiser will no doubt want to be a part of. Kaiser is a superstar who many believe should be pushed, and it looked like he was on track to be a part of the Intercontinental Championship picture alongside Sheamus and Breaker. Hopefully Kaiser will be back in the ring in no time, as between his current push and the upcoming event in Berlin, the last thing he needs is a lengthy injury. In a backstage segment, Braun Breaker expressed his frustration to Raw GM Adam Pearce, only for Sami Zayn to appear with his Intercontinental Championship. Sami dared Breaker to name the time and place, and Braun did just that, making clear he wants an Intercontinental title match against Zayn on July 6th at Money in the Bank. Pearce then made the match official, but this again raises questions as to whether Braun will be a face or a heel moving forward. It's hard to see Braun working as the face against the beloved Sami Zayn, despite being presented as a face this week, and we'll hopefully get clarity soon about Braun's character on Raw. More from the Wyatt Sicks now, as on a previous episode of the Pat McAfee Show, the broadcast came to an abrupt end and an image bearing the phrase "You lied" appeared. When Triple H appeared on the June 24th episode, another "You lied" message played, but this time the show didn't end, and Triple H asked if everyone was okay. McAfee pointed the finger of blame on producer Evan Fox, though he had said the switchboard froze each time it happened, and Pat dismissed the idea that this was an act from the Wyatt Sicks. Triple H quipped that they wouldn't take it seriously until someone was attacked like Chad Gable on Raw, as the Olympian was the only identified victim of last week's attack on Raw. Given that this is the second time a "You lied" image has appeared on Pat's show, it's clear that this message is targeting Pat, but we're not sure what it is he apparently lied about. Whatever the reason for this message, it certainly gives us the indication that fans are far from finished seeing this kind of cryptic interruption on and off WWE's main programming. Triple H also mentioned that the interruptions could be mistakes, but admitted that they seemed coincidental. He then expressed hope that they would all be safe next week. On the show, The Game and McAfee discussed the possibility of the Wyatt Sicks taking on the Bloodline down the line, a creative idea that Triple H would have to approve. Triple H has been leading WWE's creative since Vince McMahon's retirement, and on the podcast seemed open to the idea of this faction warfare. He said, "The amount of people you still have to come, the amount of storytelling you still have to roll out, and then it makes me beg the question of, alright, so down the line, whatever revolves around the Bloodline, whatever revolves around the Wyatts, like man, if those two come together, that's intriguing." Given what we saw on Raw last week, a feud with the Bloodline would certainly be violent and likely bloody, but that won't be an issue for WWE even after next year's move to Netflix. On the show, Triple H said Netflix, which will host Raw come January, is a completely different animal, and that the show won't have to censor holy chants like on traditional TV. Only time will tell how this storyline develops, as we are at the beginning of the Wyatt Sicks, and for a feud with the Bloodline, that will depend on how long the latter group has left. If the Bloodline can continue forward for some time, don't count out a war with the Wyatt Sicks in what had promised to be an epic showdown of two of WWE's most popular groups. On Pat's show, Triple H spoke about talent currently missing from WWE TV and said that Becky Lynch is on hiatus from the company. Lynch's contract expired with WWE not too long ago, and she's currently a free agent, but the game's verbiage certainly makes it seem she'll be back in WWE when the time is right. Neither Kofi Kingston nor Karrion Kross were accompanied to the squared circle for their match in the next chapter of the former NXT champion's manipulation of Xavier Woods. As Kingston got rolling late into the match, Paul Ellering appeared on the Titantron and asked Kofi if it was worth it before the cameras shot the AOP assaulting Woods. Kross capitalized on the distraction and delivered the final prayer for the win, and this did little to advance the story, other than show Kofi had a chance to rescue his friend, but did not. The match wasn't memorable either, with the commercial break interrupting the flow, which only causes further issues with the Final Testament's lackluster run to date. To be fair, this has been a solid story, but the creative team have done a lousy job with Kross and friends that even wins like this feel entirely hollow. This has resulted in silent crowds that should be buying into the group's attempts to break up the beloved New Day, but are instead just sitting quietly and waiting for the next segment. In a business as big as WWE, departures are inevitable, and this week, PW Insider confirmed that EVP of WWE TV Chris Kaiser has been cut from the company. Kaiser had been with WWE since 2015 and became EVP of TV in 2021, but now the man behind WWE 24, Total Divas, Ms. and Mrs., and more will have to seek work outside the promotion. Now, Damage Control has come a long way since its SummerSlam 2022 debut, as the faction welcomed Asuka and Kairi Sane last year and removed their leader Bayley not too long ago. Despite these changes, the group's fortunes haven't gone their way in recent months, with the group losing a 6-woman tag match at WrestleMania 40. That show also saw Sky's 245-day reign as WWE Women's Champion ended by Bayley, and that's been followed by Sky failing in the Queen of the Ring tournament and Asuka being injured. At least Sky has qualified for the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match, and on this week's Raw, Kairi Sane sought to join her when she was part of a triple threat qualifying match. Sane faced Lyra Valkyria and Shayna Baszler, and despite a great effort from all three, it was the Valkyrie who earned her spot in the ladder match after hitting Sane with the Nightwing. This loss extends Kairi's losing streak to 2 months, as her last win was on the Raw before WrestleMania when she, Asuka, and Dakota Kai beat Baszler, Tegan Nox, and Zoe Stark. Io Sky recently stated that there needs to be some changes to the group after the recent misfortunes, leaving fans intrigued to what those changes will be. As for last night, the chemistry was great and the action even better, and the right woman winning means you couldn't ask for much more from this triple threat match. And we're ending with the women's tag team champions Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, who made their first appearance since winning the titles on this week's Raw, as they faced Kaden Carter and Katana Chance. In non-title action, Dawn and Fire absorbed everything their high-energy opponents threw at them and earned the win, but their celebration was non-existent. Kairi Sane, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky hit the ring and attacked Fire and Dawn, setting up the next championship program. Given the lack of established women's tag teams, going back to the Damage Control well is hardly a bad idea, and if nothing else, provides the division with a desperately needed fresh matchup.